Hey everybody, this is Marley K. Hope you all are doing well, trying to stay healthy and not stressed. I have a story that I want to share with you. I got it from P. Wales, so shout out to P. Wales for giving me this lead for this story. And I saw it someplace else, so I decided to look it up. So I was like, what is the purpose of blocking out the sun? Now, I've been talking about it for a couple of years because we all have been seeing it. You know, everybody's been taking pictures all over the planet of these chemtrails and just, what happens afterwards. If you've never witnessed it, it is something to behold. So I've been outside a lot lately because I've been doing a little gardening, and I have been fishing. That's part of my stress relief. So I like to be outside, sitting in the sun because I'm trying to get some vitamin D and some fresh air. And when I'm at the lake, I mean, I don't care what time I go. You can go at night. You could be at the lake at 2 o'clock in the morning. Uh, it's planes flying, spraying in the air over the lake, blocking out the stars and the moon. You can go early in the morning. You will see planes flying. It's almost like they can spot, oh, there's some people down there. Let's spray on top of their heads. I mean, constantly. And my friend that I go fishing with, he's always like, how come you have to see everything? But I mean, it's just very obvious if you are aware and awake. So, you could just be sitting outside and you'll see these lines, and then the next thing you know, it's clouds, depending on which direction the wind is blowing. The lines, the sky can be beautiful blue, no clouds, then all of a sudden spraying, like planes just going back and forth, making all kinds of designs, x's, just depending on whatever ritual they want to perform, because I'm a firm believer that, you know put my tinfoil hat on. This stuff that they're doing, they are rituals, because um, just depending on, like, right before the lunar eclipse, they were spraying X's all week, just constantly. Every design in the sky was an X, and the lines turn into clouds when they dissipate, and then the next thing you know, we may have rain, or somebody else gets rain and bad thunderstorms or whatever. Or sometimes the clouds are so thick, it's like two layers of sky. So you'll have a gray sky where you can barely see the sun, and then, the wind will blow, and there'll be like a space in between the clouds where you can see, like, oh, above the clouds over my head, there's a whole other sky. Like, it's two skies. And I'm just trying to figure out, what are they doing? I know they are working with, engineering the weather. But what else? Why do we have to have the sun blocked out? And so I'm assuming it's because they are trying to block out the sun to keep food from growing. They're trying to keep us from getting vitamin D, so that, our immune systems are lowered and we are not as healthy. I want to say that it's also putting heavy metals in the sky and toxins. So this stuff is coming into our homes. It's, when we're outside, we're breathing it if you're trying to exercise and get fresh air. So, like, no matter what we do, they are intended on killing us. You could be minding your own business, not doing anything. You might can miss the lollipops. You cannot be eating genetically modified food, or the RNA vegetables that, they're putting this stuff in vegetables, produce, and meat now. You could just happen to skip everything, and the doggone air and water gonna get you. So it is like the Most High has to come and deliver us from Esau, because Esau killed everything. Esau is evil. You have to understand why the Most High hates Esau and hates the adversary. These principalities that are working through a lot of people, because they destroy they destroy his creation. And if he doesn't destroy them, come back and destroy them, he won't have a creation left. So it is clear why the Most High has to come back and save the elect, because they wearing out the saints, the people who can see. We tired. Like, it's like, what is wrong with these people? Why are they so anti-humanity, anti-life? And then where the hell are they going? Because they ass is here too. They think they're just going to live under their bunkers on Mars. You think God going to let them get up to Mars somewhere and live and destroy his planet? Man, come on. So I want to share this story with y'all. It's from Wired. It came out about 10 days ago. And it says a mysterious startup is developing a new form of solar geoengineering. Now, this stuff is unregulated. Nobody's really talking about it. I'm surprised it's here. But the small hats in the United States are facilitating this startup, which it was back in 2023. So it's just very interesting, and it might explain why people are so dull and stupid. And I don't mean to say it in a sarcastic way, but I'm like, for real. Like, if you do not have the ruach and your eyes are not open, like, people are just asleep and slow and not aware, and just people are starting to become aware now, because things are impacting them personally. Like, if you get public assistance, you're worried about that, or groceries are high, you're worried about that. But when we were trying to tell you about this stuff, 10 years ago almost, nobody wanted to listen. When we tried to tell you at the beginning of the pandemic, this is coming, nobody wanted to listen. So now people see, but it's too late, almost too late to prepare, because because of inflation, because of uncertainty with income, regardless of whether you work, um, uh, a social safety net service. People are not going to be able to prepare the way they could have 10 years ago or 5 years ago, because everything is, as far as the demolition of this system in society, is accelerated. So it's going to be very difficult for people to get their lives together. So anyway, so it says Stardust, a Israeli U.S. startup, intends to patent its unique aerosol technology for temporarily cooling the planet. Now, why do they have to cool the planet? Because people with melanin, we good. We could take the sun. We have, we originate from the continent of Africa. We live close to the equator. We're accustomed to heat. We were built for being outside in the heat. Whereas other people, children of the cornbreads, are not. So, of course, they need to block out the sun. One, because they can't build that temple and be over there pretending that they are the people if the earth is getting hot, because the Most High said he coming back to not flood the planet. He coming back with fire. So I'm sure part of the fire is going to be the sun. So they have a vested interest in keeping up the charade. Although I don't think nothing that they are doing is working, because people are now seeing, hey, these people are wackadoos. these people are doing all kinds of stuff. How come the chosen people who's supposed to be protecting the planet and doing all this stuff for the Most High are doing all this other stuff that's counter the Most High? So anyway, let me get into the story. It's just real weird. This is a long one, so you might want to speed the video up if you're listening to it, the replay. So it says, in July 2012, a renegade American businessman, Russ George, took a ship off the coast of British Columbia and dumped 100 tons of iron sulfate dust into the Pacific Ocean. He had unilaterally, and some suggest illegally, decided to trigger an algae bloom to absorb some carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, an attempt at geoengineering, a tech-based approach to combating climate change. Now, this is very interesting to me because in Florida, we have when I lived there, we used to have issues with algae blooms every year, throughout the year, and they were unexplained. And with those algae blooms, sometimes you'd have that bacteria that would create that flesh-eating bacteria that would kill people or cause them to have limbs amputated when they were in the ocean. And then you'd have huge fish kills, and they were just always unexplained. Oh, the water is warming up, yada, yada, yada. But now you see these people been doing this stuff for a long time. And once these stories start being exposed, you start seeing there's nothing ordinary about this. These are just things that haven't been happening. But the Bible talks about lying wonders throughout, the end time prophecies, and how those things are going to deceive a lot of people. And a lot of us have been deceived, especially with this climate stuff, because we've been told we need to recycle to save the planet. First it was save the planet by recycling. Now they create all this stuff and then they tell you, oh, you need to recycle. But at the end of the day, it's all a conditioning program to get us to where we are now. Now people don't think nothing about it. They think the planet really is hot and that the storms are just natural. None of this stuff would even be occurring if we would just repent and get back to living the way that the Most High intended for us to live. But Esau and them don't like natural. They want to control everything. And here we are. So it says it was a one-off, the largest known geoengineering experiment at the time, and a harbinger for more to come. Now, a startup called Stardust seeks something more ambitious, developing proprietary geoengineering technology that will help block sun rays from reaching the planet. Stardust formed in 2023 and is based in Israel, but incorporated in the United States. I'm going to just let that sit right there for a minute. I ain't gonna say nothing. I'm gonna just keep on reading. Its approach is novel. Most geoengineering research today is led by scientists in the U.S. at universities and federal agencies, and the work they are doing is more or less accessible to public scrutiny. Stardust is at the forefront of an alternative path, one in which private companies drive the development and perhaps deployment of technologies that experts say could have profound consequences for the planet. So y'all remember when I was doing the videos about the A21 cities, the 15-minute cities, and how they were the powers that shouldn't be were moving away from government and going to public-private partnerships where they could hide what they were really doing within the private part, but it's government funded. This is the same type of thing. So you always got to follow the money. You have to follow who's connected with this stuff. And just pay attention to what's happening, because this is the new government. Corporations have essentially become your government, and most people don't realize it. By the time they figure it out, the entire system will have transitioned to a private kleptocracy or technocracy, and you won't be able to do anything without having corporations involved in it. Everything will be for profit for whoever devises the plots and plans. So it says geoengineering projects, even those led by climate scientists at major universities, have previously drawn ire of environmentalists and other groups. Such a deliberate transformation of the atmosphere has never been done, and many uncertainties remain. If a geoengineering project went awry, for example, it could contribute to air pollution and ozone loss, or have dramatic effects on weather patterns, such as disrupting monsoons in populous South and East Asia. And those are needed to grow foods for those populations of people, to keep the lands rich, and to replenish the waterways that may dry out or evaporate during the hot seasons. So this stuff is going on, and it's not regulated. Nobody even knew about it. But not only that, nothing Esau does works. They break something, they fix one thing, or they say they're fixing one thing. They break 10 things, and then they come back with something else. It's almost like the pharmaceutical industry. So they'll tell you, we've got this drug to fix diabetes, but it might give you ear loss, your hair come out, your foot fall off, you might develop cancer, you might bleed from your anus, you may develop acne, you may have a stroke, just all kinds of foolishness for one problem, when the problem that you went to the doctor for could be solved by something that is natural or holistic. So it's the same type of thing. The adversary is busy, and again, this was prophesied in the pseudepigrapher, the apocrypha, the Bible, or Tanakh, Torah, whatever you want to call it. Prophecy is happening in real time, and most people don't even realize that we're living in the final days of this age, and it's going to be horrific, because you can see now how billions of people are going to be yeeted off of the planet. We're going to starve to death. We're going to burn up. We're going to drown. We're going to have disease, pestilences, and plagues. Animals are going to go crazy. People are going to go crazy. This is not going to be good for us. But this is the plan. This is the adversary's plan, to destroy as many people as they can without their knowledge of or understanding that this is the end of an age, and it is time for them to cut out all foolishness, set themselves apart, and get back to the Most High. So it's a very dangerous time for all of us. And again, we need to be prayed up. We need to be asking the Most High what we need to do individually for our own households and our own bodies, our own minds. And we need to just continue to keep watch. But this stuff is very scary. But as global temperatures rise, public and scientific sentiments are shifting. If those temperature trends continue, governments or private entities may ultimately use geoengineering to alleviate or avoid the worst impacts of extreme weather, including deadly heat waves, firestorms, and hurricanes. So to me, it seems as though they are creating these things, and then they're saying they're trying to prevent these things. It's like it's a mind screwing is what it is. And if you understand white supremacy, that is all white supremacy is. This is just an evolution of that. It is just constant confusion. It is a big old circle. They'll say this, they'll do this, they'll fix this. That just nothing makes sense. But this, whatever they got to do to survive, they'll lie, cheat, steal, kill, destroy to do it. And this is an escalation of the system. So it says, and whoever deploys the technology will need to keep it up for decades while pent up greenhouse gases gradually dissipate or are removed. So those greenhouse gases going to be me and you and the cows and everything else that's living and farting and breathing. They don't want you here. They're using every kind of excuse to figure out how they're going to delete stuff. And let's just call it what it is. Few outsiders have gotten a glimpse of Stardust's plan, and the company has not publicly released details about its technology, its business model, or exactly who works at its company, but the company appears to be positioning itself to develop and sell a proprietary geoengineering technology to governments that are considering making modifications to the global climate, acting like a kind of defense contractor for climate alteration. And so the other thing that you have to think about is, why is it always Israel? Like, what is it? Like, is that an offshoot of the American government? Because everybody doing the same thing. And it just seems to me that the same people are the targets of all their stuff. Us. White people are collateral damage, but the real targets are us. So, excuse me. So, I don't know why our people aren't getting this, but all you gotta do is go outside and look up in the sky. You see planes all day long spraying. And I mean, like, it must be thousands of those planes just flying day and night. I'd love to know who is in them flying and what do they think they are doing. Stardust is moving ahead amid few national and international rules and limited oversight. And a recent report by the company's former climate governance consultant, Janos Pastor, called for the company to increase its transparency, engagement, and communication with outsiders. Anything that's private that they're doing, you better know it's nefarious and ain't no good for us. Period. Everything is proprietary because it's gonna make them some money, and they got to craft the lie to sell it to the stupid people, to tell them how good it's gonna be and how much it's gonna help us. They make all the taxpayer money, go away happy, and then a couple of years later we all sick, our arms falling off, the baby's born without no heads, the food bad, people got diseases we never had before and allergies. Like, it's wild. But so far, Pastor told Undark the company has not met all of his requests. Stardust still needs to implement his recommendations and be as transparent as possible. Be available proactively to respond to questions people may have and also engage with other actors, he said, because they do not or not yet have a social license or geoengineer for geoengineering activities. Now listen to this. The company is led by CEO and co-founder Yanni Yedvab, a former deputy chief scientist at the Israel Atomic Energy Commission, which oversees the country's clandestine nuclear program. Through Eli Zupnik, a communications officer hired by the company, Yedvab never accepted Undark's many requests for an interview. But in an email statement to Undark sent via Zupnik, Yedvab wrote, quote, Stardust is a startup focused on researching and developing technologies that may potentially stop global warming in the short term, end quote. The company, he continued, is, quote, studying and developing a safe, responsible, and controllable solar radiation modification end quote. And, quote, our goal is to enable informed and responsible decision making of the international community and governments, end quote. So, nowhere, again, another article that I'm reading to y'all has no citizen input. Now, we have to pay for it, but we don't get to decide whether or not we want it. Now, when is radiation good for your body? Never. Outside of the sun, the radiation that comes from the sun, natural radiation that God created. When is anything that Esau made that's radiation good? Never. 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 Despite Stardust's low profile, the company rejects being referred to as secretive, but that's what it is. Publishing all the products of our research without any exception is critical, Yedveb wrote, adding that the company is unwaveringly committed to publishing results as one of the measures to gain public trust. We don't trust you. We see you. We know you. You steal people identities. You just steal and lie and cheat and rob. Why would we trust what they say? And we know that we are the target. As soon as they find out how to engineer us off the planet, as soon as they figure out how to hack melanin and hack God's creation, if the Most High would let them get away with it, we'd be gone. So y'all better not sleep on this technology. Stardust has not published any of its research at this time, but Yedveb stressed they will do so once, quote, scientific validation is concluded, end quote, on all of their results. For decades, researchers have explored a variety of approaches to hacking the climate. Today, the most common, so they're basically playing God. They're being the creator. Today, the most common I'm sorry. Okay, so it says today the most common approach is a type of solar geoengineering that involves flying high altitude aircrafts or balloons to release reflective particles in high atmosphere, well above the flight paths of commercial planes. And this is what we have been seeing. This is what I've been seeing, and people have been telling me I was crazy. I could be sitting right next to somebody on the bucket on the fish creek, and they'll just be saying, "Girl, you don't know what you're talking about. Those commercial airplanes." No, they're not. I've been on a bunch of commercial airplanes. That's not a commercial airplane. Commercial airplanes don't put out fumes like that. I've lived under a flight path when I lived in Fort Lauderdale. Lived right close to the airport, and planes would fly across my house all day, all night. Never saw any fumes. Heard them sometimes. Sometimes didn't hear them. Just saw the little lights, especially at night. But nothing. This is not normal. But I am so thankful for whoever wrote this article, because yet again I've been confirmed I ain't crazy. The technique known as stratospheric aerosol injection requires deploying tiny, carefully chosen particles in precise amounts. In order to work well, the particles need to be periodically replenished. So the other thing about when you, lately, when I have been looking up in the sky, if there's a hole, you can see a rainbow. Like one morning we were going fishing and we were looking at this. I was looking at the sky and I was like, look at that rainbow. Just a piece of a rainbow in a cloud. When have you ever seen such? It ain't rained or nothing. And so lately I have just been seeing a lot of pieces of rainbows. But I know it's because of those aerosol particles catching the reflection of the sun. So on our end, on the low sky that they creating with the clouds, it just is weird. The sun looks weird. The clouds look weird. Like nothing looks normal. So pay attention to the sky every day, because you're going to start, you should have already been seeing this. I'm sure a lot of people haven't been paying attention. But it doesn't matter where you are on the planet, because I'm sure this stuff, it may dissipate, when it goes across bodies of water, but we don't know what it does. And we don't know if they're doing it any place other than the West, because they say they're not doing it here, but they're doing it here. Because I see it. Scientists have accumulated evidence for this approach by studying natural events that have flung small particles into the atmosphere. For instance, after an eruption of Mount Pinatubo in 1991, sulfur dioxide and hydrogen sulfide hung in the atmosphere and measurably cooled the planet for more than a year. That's crazy. Thanks to studies of the volcanic activity, some scientists argue that environmental risk of deliberately strewing sulfates in the atmosphere are well understood. Although there are potential health risks from this approach, they say they are small in comparison to the health risk from climate change. Quote, we know that sulfuric acid air pollution causes more mortality, and we roughly know how much. They don't tell you though. There's more than a century of studies. They always looking for stuff and they never find understanding. Just go make up some more stuff. We're very unlikely to be wrong about that. Oh, they're so certain. David Keith, head of Climate Systems Engineering Initiative at the University of Chicago, an advocate of geoengineering research. Everybody who works at a college or university needs research to have a job, so everybody always going to be pro their research. In a new study, Keith and his colleagues argue that the health risk of sulfate particles in the atmosphere are heavily outweighed by the potential impacts of not deploying geoengineering technologies. So basically, they want to live forever. They don't want to burn up. They don't want to die. But we're supposed to die. God said He's gonna judge the planet, and we're gonna burn up. Those of us who ain't right. He's gonna come back and judge this place first. It is so wild that they are like literally telling us what they are doing, but it ain't gonna work. Nothing that they do works. Stardust plans a similar approach with a proprietary aerosol particle that's less well understood. In Keith's view, the company plans to distribute the particles through a machine mounted on an aircraft, according to Pastor, a veteran climate diplomat and policy expert at the United Nations and elsewhere. That's all you need to know right there. Close the book. Close the story. The end. You already know what time it is. According to Pastor's report, which he published on LinkedIn in September 2024, the company is engineering the particle and a prototype of the aircraft mount, as well as developing a system for modeling and monitoring the climate effects. Over the coming year, Pastor wrote, the company is planning on advancing those technologies and testing the particles in the stratosphere, but not telling you nothing about them. Not studying the impact of those chemicals on our body or animals or the environment. Just do this to keep the sun out. Yedvev confirmed that they are working on the technology, saying in a statement to Undart that any such experiment would be done in a contained, non-dispersive manner, meaning that its particles would not be strewn over a wide area. It also committed to publishing information about any such outdoor geoengineering test. Yedvev said that the company has not performed any such outdoor experiments yet, but it has done a few outdoor aerial checks. That meant they have tested the dispersal system under flight conditions, but they have not yet scattered their aerosols in the atmosphere. They lying. Okay. I'm going down a little bit. So it says, as Stardust continues its research and development, it has drawn scrutiny, including from Pastor. After retiring as a veteran climate diplomat, So they get to go off and retire. And they made their money. Then they come back and tell you, oh, that's wrong. Oh, I'm going to point fingers. These people are so weird. It's so wrong how they justify what they do. So it says, rather than keep the, Pastor agreed to work with Stardust in 2024 as an independent consultant. Rather than keep the remuneration for his work, he instead donated the entirety of it to the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine Refugees, or UNRWA, he told Undar. So it's almost as if he was saying, this is so evil, I'm going to give it to the people that they don't like and help them through the agency that don't like nobody, that was created by the same people that created this stuff that we're talking about. So it's, we start looking at the money and who's connected, who's in charge, it's all the same thing. It's all the same thing. If you follow the money and you follow the people and where they've been and where they're going and how they mix up and where they come from and who they're connected to, what bodies they're connected to, it all makes sense. This is why this stuff works so well. This is why people don't know anything about who's the real danger to them. The aim of Pastor's project was to highlight the need for clear international rules and oversight for geoengineering. He also wanted to make recommendations for Stardust and for any other such geoengineering company about how to ethically develop and deploy its technology. Right now, there are no international rules or treaties that put obvious limits on this kind of work. So they out here all willy-nilly spraying the sky and ain't nobody saying nothing and the people don't even know. As a result, an individual company or government can take dramatic gambles with the climate in ways that could affect billions of lives, and that's the plan. And it doesn't have to get permission from anyone to do it. But Yah is gonna have the last word. He sure is. They ain't gonna get no sleep. They ain't gonna get no rest. They might get rich for a little while, but their day is coming. So there's something else that I want to share with y'all. Okay, so it says Stardust agreed to publish a public website, including providing a copy of Pastor's report, and to develop a voluntary code of conduct, he said, that would publicly lay out how they intended to conduct their research and development, including agreeing not to be involved in large-scale implementation, which is too late because they're already doing it. So like it's just crazy. It doesn't make any sense. You say there's no regulation, but then you said we're gonna not do this and be under the purview of government agencies. Well, government agencies don't even have anything set up for something like this. Pastor expected Stardust to publish this information last September or soon afterward. For a while, though, no website appeared. They were going to publish all of that on their website. Now they are delayed. He said during a conversation in January, come on guys, this is getting embarrassing. They ain't delayed. They intentionally are not doing nothing. So here's another thing that I want to share with you. So it says the site doesn't describe who works for the company, but a statement provided to Undar by Zupnik noted that Stardust has 25 physicists and chemists and engineers on the team and listed some of the company's leadership. Yedvab, the CEO, Chief Product Officer, Amyad Spector, a physicist and former employee of the, listen to this, Israeli government's nuclear research program, and lead scientist Eli Waxman, an astrophysicist at the Weizmann Institute of Science, who formerly served as Spector's academic supervisor. So it says some groups, however, like Center for International Environmental Law, say that Stardust's efforts could violate the Convention of Biological Diversity's de facto moratorium on geoengineering activities. Quote, By developing and planning to commercialize solar engineering technology, Stardust is accelerating a reckless race and potentially violating agreements of the Convention on Biological Diversity, said CIEL's geoengineering campaign manager. Mary Church, in a statement in February, I don't know what that's supposed to mean. It's just like a sentence. Anyway, it says any deployment of the technology, Church wrote, would likely be controlled by a handful of major powers and corporations. So, about the prospective clients. So it says the prospective clients seem to be governments. As countries consider geoengineering, Stardust could be poised to sell them tools to meet those goals, several experts said in an emailed answer to questions about its business model. Yedveb described the company's approach as founded on the premise that solar engineering will play a critical role in addressing global warming in the coming decades. We ain't gonna be here because Most High He can't let us stay here under these conditions. We're gonna be sick and they killing us, literally. The company is attempting to patent its geoengineering technology. We anticipate that as U.S.-led geoengineering research and development programs advance, the value of Stardust's technological portfolio will grow accordingly, Yedveb wrote. I pray all weapons formed against us don't prosper. That's what I pray every day. So there was one more thing that I wanted to share with y'all. I can see it. Let me find it. It's at the bottom of this article. Okay, so this is what I'm going to share with y'all. So it says Stardust said that it receives no funding from the Israeli Defense Ministry and made clear to Pastor that it has no connection to the Israeli government. That don't mean it don't have no connection to our government, because we pay for everybody. We pay for all the bullshit. Excuse my expression, but that's what we do. We don't even know what we be paying for. So it says, Alz's partners and strategic advisors have strong ties to Israeli military and intelligence agencies, including former senior directors of agencies like the Mossad. If you don't know what the Mossad is, look it up. Shin Bet and Unit 8200. If you don't know what those are, look them up. I can't talk about them, but look them up. They ain't good. As well as the CIA and FBI. So, enough said. According to its website, Alls also invest in AI-based surveillance and security tech in Israel, such as through the company Coresight, which has provided face recognition tech for Israel's war in Gaza. So y'all need to understand what is happening. This is insane. It's just insane. It's insane. It's insane. And it's all also, all the stuff is coming out at the same time, where we have this takeover by this administration, leading us to this no buy no sell system, this digital currency. A lack of autonomy is coming, along with a lot of other things that we just are not prepared for. So, I want to talk about this story, one, because it was shared with me. So again, thanks P. Wells for sharing this story, because I was like, why are they doing this? This is so stupid. And I say that about everything, I say that about everything. This is so stupid. How come people can't see this? If you have good old common sense, you just know it ain't gonna work. But that's me. People laugh at me all the time because I just say, something that's so simple, to try to summarize the gist of what's happening. But it's so stupid. It's just like with cryptocurrency and digital currency. Everybody's like, oh, we're going to get a decentralized blah, blah, blah. If you don't have no power and no internet, it ain't going to work. So it don't matter what kind of decentralized something you have. If it requires power and a computer and the internet, it's not going to work. You're going to still not have no money. So, it's just going to be numbers on the screen. I just don't know. I've never seen people so stupid in all my life. And, you know, y'all better be really thinking about the ancestors, how they lived. The more simplistic, the better. If you could prepare yourself to live off the grid without, having the basics, have a way to haul dirty water and purify it, have a way to grow your own food, even if you got to put it in a greenhouse, or have LED lights run by battery power, something. But I would not dare tell anybody to invest in anything that is tied to this climate agenda or this green stuff, because it is all a farce. Not only that, the Most High coming back to destroy everything. So no matter what plans they try, they're not going to succeed. They will succeed a little bit, because you always got to give them a little gas, make them feel like they're doing something. But at the end of the day, it ain't gonna work. Nothing that they do is working, and this is going to be no different. So anyway, I will put a link to this story in the description. Please like this video, share it, and subscribe to the channel. Hit that bell notification so that you will be notified each and every time I upload new content. If you like to support the channel financially, this channel does not receive any type of support, and I don't advertise nothing, and I don't promote nothing, and I'm not, the channel's not monetized, so I don't have to deal with all the foolishness. I can just say what I want to say as best I can. But if you'd like to support the channel, please check out my links in the description for Venmo and for coffee. They will be greatly appreciated, as all of us are being penalized for just breathing air on this planet, especially if you are doing the Lord's work, doing Yah's work. Finally, continue to prep, continue to pray, continue to seek the Most High, do your own due diligence, read more than you listen, find these articles when you see something, get more insight, because we all have our biases. We'll share a little bit of stuff with you sometimes. I try to read most of the articles to you and put a link so that you can read it for yourself and just make that a starting point, and continue to do more research. Follow the money. Pray every day over everything. Pray over your body, pray over your food, pray over your water, pray over your land if you have property. Pray over whatever you consume from the stores. Pray that people's eyes are awakened, and that they just, don't just sit back and take this stuff. Because, what I see is we just live amongst a bunch of cowards and people who don't want to fight for anything. They just want everything easy. But the time is coming where we're not going to be able to sit out these fights. We're going to have to get up and out, and we don't have to do nothing really. All we need to do is just pray. I'm just going to say that we need to pray. We don't need to do nothing. Now Esau, them, they need to do stuff, because that's them people. They this white on white crime. We're collateral damage. And I say white on white crime, but Esau is a lot of people. So Esau and the Gentiles and the heathens, this is stuff that they're doing to each other, because it's not just children of the corn. There are other nations also involved in this gimmick. So what we need to do is just make sure we are getting our lives together, and just praying. Like, try to keep the Sabbath and the feast days. Read your word and understand these lying wonders are real. We are living in the midst of lying wonders. This is lying wonder season, and that's going to be the name of this video. Lying wonder season. because you can look up in the sky every day and see this happening. And they've told you there are no regulations. Nobody's gonna do nothing. It is a part of the plan to get rid of us. So what we gonna do? We gonna ask the Most High to let us live and not die, just for the hell of it. That's what I do every day. Lord, let me live. Y'all let me live. I just want to live and be healthy. Everything they do, let them till they do right by us. Ain't nothing good gonna come to them. So that's the way I think. I know I'm making light of it and being funny, but you have to do that, because if you have a healthy brain and you're not special, this stuff don't make no sense. It don't make no sense for nobody to wake up and be so evil. You have to know these people are the serpent seed. You got to know that. So just be mindful of what's happening in the world. Continue to keep watch. Continue to pray over, everything that is in your purview. Be responsible for your people. Do not waste your time doing anything that is just not going to help you make it through these times. And just know we are at the end of the age. All the things that we are reading about in the Apocrypha, I was reading the Testament of Solomon, chapter 24, chapter 25, and boy, I swear, when they start talking about them demons and how the demons flying all over the air, flying around among the stars, they hear sentences which go forth on the souls of men, and immediately they come, and whether by force or influence or by fire or by sword or by some accident, they veil their act of destruction. Y'all need to read Testament of Solomon, chapter 24, chapter 25. You can go back to 23. But this stuff is insane. And this is the stuff that they don't want you to know about, because they're doing it right now. If you read the Apocrypha, they are literally doing the things to us that they were doing back then. And that they actually say, at different times, when they'll be doing these things. So they're literally doing these things to us, and a lot of people in the Christian church don't even know it, because they read the New Testament. They don't read the Old Testament. They don't read Isaiah, Daniel, Ezekiel, Jeremiah, Obadiah. They don't read any of those books. And their churches are not teaching them how to go back and read some of the other historical references of what happened and how Esau and them really behaved. They don't know how to deal with demons and spirits and principalities. Those things are real. They are flying around in the air, literally in the airplane, spreading principalities spreading principalities. You cannot make this stuff up. So we are in the season of lying wonders. So hold on to your britches. I told y'all last year it's gonna get rough. And I mean, the Most High is revealing a lot of things to us. He is revealing, but in the revelations, they are also a form of freedom and deliverance. So just make sure you are continuing to stay prayed up, stay plugged in. I know I have not been providing a whole lot of content. I just can't do it. I'm just telling you, I'm so whacked out reading this stuff. It's just insane. But there are some stories I really do need to get back to it while we still can talk, because the hour is coming where we won't be able to. So anyway, y'all take care. Keep prepping, keep praying, keep repenting, obey the law, statutes, and commandments, keep that Sabbath, keep watch. This is Marley K. Love y'all, and I am out.